Welcome to Mirror Domains, and this is my part 2 of what the Exorcist reboot should have been. Last night I wrote an entire script outline of what I thought this movie should be about, and I slept on it, and I realized that I forgot a couple of key elements in here. So what I want to do today is spend a little bit of time fleshing out this idea so that it's a little bit more well-rounded. And maybe we'll even start in with the actual grid of a formal outline as opposed just to the composed story circles. And when I wrote this last night, I had the idea of it being a trilogy because that's what the Exorcist Believer under Jason Blum had been mandated to be. And I wrote down, evil seems defeated in the first movie, evil retaliates, further involving the church in the second movie, and then evil's defeated in the third movie. Very simple arc. But I forgot that this was meant to be a requel to the first movie, which means other than bringing in the cast, what did this story have to do with the first movie, if anything at all? Like, yeah, we dropped in Pazuzu in there as a potential return for the second movie, but other than that, like, the Exorcist Believer tried to bring in Claire and Reagan, but it just, I thought that was kind of a weak effort from what I brought up, because I didn't really articulate exactly what it is I'm going for. And on the surface level of it, it almost seems as if I did exactly what Exorcist Believer did, where it doesn't really tie in to what the Exorcist movies were. So if I thought about it like this, the first movie would have been this. 1972, is that when that came out? Let me just pull that up. (1973) or 74? Is that what? 73, 1973. Yeah. So really, the first movie would be 1973. That's what I totally forgot here, right? Is that would be the first movie, because it did seem defeated, and they did try to pick up a little bit of that, a touch with Exorcist 3, but it was like a different spirit or something, right? But I said that I wanted to bring back some of that lore of Legion, right? Because that was the original working script for number 3, right? Was Legion. And my concept in here of opening up the gates of hell kind of thing, that is sort of it, right? Referring to Legion, like that's what the demons were trying to do. So I want to elaborate on that just a little bit and get through some story ideas. So basically, this movie would be picking up with the second part, and the second part, evil retaliates, and this 2-part film, because essentially, if you didn't think about it as a trilogy, you would already have the first film made. Like the new like Exorcist Believer, like you bought the rights to make 3 more. The third film would almost become like an epilogue, kind of like what happens afterwards, and there would be no demons in it. There would be no exorcisms or anything like that. It would just be people dealing with the fallout, like a very epilogue. Like I don't know, you would be stretching the story, perhaps. So part 2 would be more of like the evil retaliates kind of thing. So very much like what Freddy did in Freddy versus Jason, of going to hell and trying to find somebody else to come out and get that ball rolling. Maybe that's what Pazuzu would do. he would go to hell and try to find another demon to take over and try the exact same thing. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So I thought that I would just go online here and take a look um, at what people have been saying on the wiki pages. Zuzu returns in Legion wanting to take revenge for being thrown out of Regan's body. Yeah, he does this by driving the Gemini killer's soul into Father Damien Karras, the Karras, right? Karras, yeah. So, yeah. So, there is sort of like I want to acknowledge all of that stuff in this part. And that really doesn't have a whole lot to do with my story that I composed last night. So now we have to go back with the redraft of this and infuse it now with all of this stuff. This is where we take creative license. We know Marin and Karras die. But that does get picked up a bit in part 3. It's hard, like, are you going to say that Pazuzu is so petty that he got a bit of his revenge? Again, we're dealing with that same issue of what is the end game here, right? So what? You got kicked out and you're angry about it. And it just goes back to my pawn idea. So the other thing that was brought to my attention is that we're just having a lack of priests. So I always intended for them to be there. So I guess we could sort of start to steal some of the ideas from Believer, recycle them, but repurpose is a better word. Because they had the neighbor that was going to be a nun, but then turned their back on the faith, and they try to make it like this is God using me to go around and stuff like that. But I think it makes more sense if we just outright make somebody from the church. But I still want to keep my idea of having it the father being from from the world of psychology and science. So so that's the first arc. How am I going to do this? Second draft notes. The mother of Leia. Leia's okay. Sorry, in case he didn't notice. Yesterday we put the father and daughter in. We put Bale and Leia in there. So the mother of Leia, Nancy, has turned to Christ and wants the family to become religious. Bale, who is a scientist and psychologist, doesn't like this. And this is the main feud. Okay. And maybe we'll set that up in the beginning, right? So we're beefing up Nancy's role, mother. And it'll be through her that once we get into the meat of the story, it's almost like in the first act. The first act would be all more about Leia. So if we, let's see, how do we do this? Copy. I just want to put in markers here. Oops. I gotta take out the zoom from here. Okay. This is just to let you know where my second drafts are. So, Nancy. About the rebellious nature of Leia. These are just placeholder names, guys. And I guess I need to put in some proper commas here. The first act will be about the rebellious nature of Leia, scorned by her parents' separation. Yeah. So basically, the heck? That's not what I said to do. Act 1, be Leia. What does she want? She wants for her parents to reconcile. Okay? And that's going to be the overall arc of it now. It'll be all that she wants her parents to reconcile. And they will towards the end. The same events will still happen. One of the parents will die trying to save her, but there'll be kind of like a moment of them there, kind of like acknowledging that they came together to do this to save their daughter, right? So she'll get that. But unknowingly, they unleash Pazuzu and this other demon that I created called Styxxa, right? Initial problem, they are separated due to ideology and religious region. Yeah. Not sure the lobotomy line will fly, James. They haven't practiced it in a while. Well, yeah. It's all CBT and lithium in this day and age. They would have to do something. Well, we're reconstructing it now. So yeah, we'll go over that stuff. Initial action. She learns that hurting them herself will get their attention. Initial problem, Nancy, the mother, has become a full-blown nun. Initial action, Leia invokes the spirit Styxxa. Change. No change. And then we just go into Act 2. And that would be pretty much copy and paste from what we had down below. I don't know, maybe I should just put this after. Maybe I should just move this all up after, right? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to put it in there. We'll put this all after because we're redrafting it here. Bale wants to help his daughter in recovery. She resists with extreme. Yeah, that stuff all works out fine. And then Act 2, the mother comes back. Let's see if this still works. So she invokes the spirit. She gets. Maybe Leia likes it. What if she does? And it's still following a little bit of themes from Exorcist Believer, right? That they go like the parents do get notified as to what happened, and I'm not going to tie it into like Jesus when they go get missing for 3 days or anything like that. I don't that idea just didn't seem to work out. But like each segment here is like from their different perspective, right? So you got the mother, or you got the kid, the father, and then the mother comes in with her religious beliefs. Uh, Nancy the nun. She doesn't regret becoming a mother, or doesn't she doesn't regret becoming a nun. There you go. She's she's allowed to see. Yeah. Now this is where it would change a little bit. Because I had a priest, a superfluous priest in there, because now she's the priest, right? Um, Maybe allowed to see Leia with aid of help the helper with helper priest, aid of helper priest, because they wouldn't be alone, right? Would they? Helper priest. Yeah, the same. So the same thing would happen here. Helper priest is critically wounded. As helper priest and Nancy are wounded. Just say are wounded. We don't have to say critically. Would they take her to be lobotomized? No. This is where we go back into what Styxxa wants. What she wants to commune. I'm going to put in the. Whoop, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm going to do. I want to put in Act 3, and I want to put back in our story circle. And I got to get this idea out before I lose it. So what happened after Gemini Killer? Um, so he gets banished again in Exorcist 3. So then we would have to go with the George C. Scott for revenge. Descendants. Did they say that the George C. Scott character had children? The detective, or we'd have to go with another descendant of one of the priests. Um, who would obsessed? So once she gets the church's attentions to find out where it is. So that's why Leia would be possessed in this one, just to create outrage and get the church's attention. It is very difficult to do, so they can't just get in. Does Nancy work for her? Yeah. Does Nancy work for the Vatican in some capacity, perhaps in the archives? Because that's what would want to happen. Styxxa, the demons would want to get access to records and stuff like that and figure out where in the world they would have to. But it's kind of like that would ruin some of the mythos because they're already supposed to have like supernatural information, right? But it would be a way to attack the church. Yeah. So would this movie take place? Do we need to know? And is that possible? Can people become nuns later in life? Here's what I want. Yeah. William F. Kinderman had a daughter called Julie to his wife Mary. Okay. So would is Nancy Julie then? Let me pull up the IMDb's here. Yeah, Kinderman. So what year would that have been? Yeah, let's do that. I know it's a roundabout way of doing it, but I think it makes more sense. So, Nancy's maiden name would be Kinderman. Descendant. Did I not write? Did I not spell that properly? Yeah, so that would be a rope a dope, right? We won't know that until like later on. Um, just so that things are more tied. This again will just help us tie it into the actual franchise, because The Exorcist Believer didn't really feel like it was really tied in there, other than just having the cast come back and say, "Oh, remember these people? They're the so-called experts of all this stuff." It didn't really tie in all that well, so we're tying it in a little bit more here. Better. And what year would this be taking place in then? Yeah, we could set this, we can, in a year that doesn't have to be 2023, we can set it in early 2000s. When did Exorcist 3 come out? Exorcist 3 came out in 1990. So the daughter would be, yeah, we can say, oh, I guess I need to go back and study those films to get in, maybe the granddaughter. Yeah, yeah, there we go. That's juicy. No, we'll take out that line. But she would know then. Why do we need to go into the archives? That would just remove that part, right? Um, Maybe the church helper works in the archives. Yeah. Bummer, Hourglass. So basically, evil wins in this first installment, because we're going back to that mindset of the first Exorcist movie is evil seems defeated, evil retaliates, and this would be the two parts. Where the first part of the second part does sort of go over that same trope of evil seems defeated, but would succeed in getting access to information from to an inside person from the Vatican so that they can unleash Legion from the inside. Yeah. And remember, in the third movie, evil gets all defeated. Everybody learns that the demons learn that they're just pawns. They think that they're the top dogs and stuff, serving their master, Satan or whatever. But then they all just realize that, the guy upstairs, no, he just uses you as a method of control, kind of thing. Um, it'll be hard for people to understand. People may not like that message that the guy upstairs does allow bad things to happen to people. But that'll be the more theological approach to the third one. That I don't know. It'll still be character driven, so I'm not going to write out treatments for that. I'm still trying to hash out this first one. So I think we we've brought it a little bit more focused. So basically, the movie transforms about at the mid mark once Nancy comes back into the life. It comes back. It turns very much into that when what people want to see the Exorcist. Nancy's the Exorcist doing an exorcism, and if you want to say that somebody has to become a believer, the father becomes the skeptic. So then, would the father die in this? Yeah, maybe the dad dies in this. But then what would happen to Nancy? Or sorry, what would happen to Leia after that? Because a nun can't take care. She would have to leave the church to take care of her, right? Yeah, I like how the Omen saga played out. It had a balance of with Vatican lore and family empire. The church was more in the forefront as the antagonist, with the daggers as the MacGuffin. Yeah, the problem here is that from uh, this is still just the grid lines. Somebody on the superficial level looking at what I'm trying to do here will not see, well, that doesn't seem scary. There's going to be scary stuff in here. Trust me. We'll get to the when the crab walk stuff happens and all of the swearing and cursing and stuff like that. It'll be in there. She is allowed to see her. She's allowed to see Leia, but learns the name of new demon. Pivotal problem: the helper priest must go find out who this demon is in archives. Oh, no, hold on. That's the action. The helper priest must go. Yeah. Um, the pivotal problem is that the new demon doesn't seem to have a. Oh, this will be from the audience's point too. The new demon doesn't seem to have a clear objective other than torture, right? And that's the crisis part. The crisis part is that maybe learns Styxxa is a was once a subordinate. Of yeah, something like that. And then we go back to this. Yeah, I think that's 2. Aid Pazuzu. Getting a 1-up on the church. Yeah. Initial problem is that time is limited because the helper is about to find out. Let's find out the connection. Action. Uses Leia to critically harm Nancy. The get is that it feels shoehorned in that we would bring in Reagan, right? That wouldn't come in until the second one. When evil really seems to win, right? But this is where the ending would happen the same way here, because I like this. Pivotal action. How did I? Okay, I just want to write this one down. I'm going to copy these last 3 steps here, so I don't have to keep on scrolling. Okay. Maybe we go back to Leia. Yeah. Leia. What does she want? To see her parents back together. That's her problem. She is possessed, hurting people. Initial action. She gets helps the mother tend her wounds as Leia looks on. Problem. Styxxa. Yeah. Problem is that Styxxa still attacks them. Bale sacrifices himself to save Leia. Something like that, basically. And then the post-credit scene would be to find out that what? How does finding out that she was a Kinderman help? Or would the priests help the priest helper be Kinderman? No. Yeah, there we go. So she would be following in her grandfather's footsteps of investigation, but just for the church instead. There you go. That works better. So that we'd have to beef up whoever the priest helper would be. I think that works out a lot better. That I feel much more happy about. And then when she's figuring it out at the Vatican, how Styxxa is related to Pazuzu. No, she would know that her last name would be Kinderman, though, right? She would know that. Being a Kinderman could lead to a family curse, or being Kinderman as an antagonist would be a savior for yes, grandfather's footsteps. Yeah, but you would find out that maybe the priest helper would find out that she is being used as a pawn. That she eventually will be targeted by Pazuzu, and Styxxa's end game was to bring her back into the fold. So there you go. That's what would happen. Now we'd have to embed all of that into the final acts kind of thing. But now, upon this revision, we've infused a lot more of the church. We've added exorcist characters that from the church. We've tied it a lot more back into the lore and mythology of the Exorcist movies that we're going to recognize of 1 and 2. And learning that she would be a Kinderman and that they're trying to actually get back to have Pazuzu have some kind of a revenge in second movie is where Reagan brought back to help fill in information as to what Pazuzu wanted, and we would learn much more about Legion. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like that much better. Because it just last night it was so superficial. And this is a good exercise too, because yeah, you come up with a simple storyline in 2 hours. But it's not detailed enough, and it kind of dances around and skirts things. And look at what we've done today. With an extra 45 minutes, I've taken it and I've begun to focus it. And then when I start to bring these out into actual full form, of like, okay, here's the outline grid for Act 1. Here's the outline grid for Act 2. Like when we're actually putting in scene descriptions of like, as I said, here's the introduction to Leia. We have got to introduce the parents. We have to have a scene that introduces this is the friction between them, like why they separated, because Nancy's part of the church and stuff like that, and that's how that would all get filled out. So maybe we could do a part 3 of this later on, where I would fill this out, because it's top of mind, and while I'm figuring it all out, it's just cool to open the doors to see some of the writing process for people who are curious about it, who've never seen this process before, refining the idea. Because here's the thing that I felt like last night. While I created an okay sort of storyline, it's like, why are you calling it The Exorcist then, right? Why? What does this have to do with The Exorcist series? Now with the second draft notes, it really has a lot more to do with The Exorcist. So I really much prefer that, and I'm going to copy and paste that into the description of this video once I just go through the spell check, go through the grammar check. I think. There we go. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Just run the spell checker. And that's the second draft notes. So if we did a third part of this, guys, this is when I would go in and start to fill out scenes. And then yeah, you would see parts where where Leia would start cutting herself. We would have to think up proper names for the characters. We can't use Leia and Bail Organa, right? Because that's where that came from. Princess Leia, Bail Organa from Star Wars. We can't use that. We could possibly use Julie in there as Kinderman's daughter. Julie will be the mother of Nancy. Of course, we would probably change that name up too. And then we would have to create a character of the priest helper, who is probably just a normal helper of the archives kind of thing, who comes to this case to help out Nancy kind of thing, to be the advisor, right? Kind of like, yeah, well, we're here. Let's write it. Instead of just talking about it, James. Would come into the story once Nancy alerts the church, and she would be very like Van Helsing was in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Maybe a little bit eccentric, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So we would have to think of a priest helper's name and stuff like that. We just have to think about characters' names and start flushing it out a little bit. Because then, yeah, we would have to have scenes in here. Who are they? Who are these people? What are the problems? What's the gross things that happen in this? Once she's possessed and she does all these terrible things, is that going to be scary enough? As I said, once she starts to be possessed, I want her to do very much Buffalo Bill, Hannibal Lecter type things to people, right? Where it's just like, ugh. Will she do like the wild horses dance? Maybe. Something gross like that. Something very offsetting and off-putting. That'll be driving everything in this. Is that it's supposed to be really, really uncomfortable. All right. Cool. So yeah, maybe I will do a part 3 to this. I don't know if I'll have time to do it later. Not later today, but maybe tomorrow. But I just wanted to, hey, watch how this script evolves. How this evolves, making a script, and maybe I'll take it to an actual first full draft where we got the actual kind of structure of what it looks like and stuff with dialogue. And see, as a story writer, this is just, I'm creating the backbone of it all kind of thing, right? Working with the dialogue, working with the lore and stuff like that. That's when you bring in the team of okay, you're going to go research the church and stuff like that. Let's look for some demonology stuff here. Let's work how we can bring ideas of that kind of stuff in. And that's where you'd have a team come in and say, okay, now we're going to fill out this idea. This seems like a decent idea. Let's run with that kind of thing, right? And then as those ideas come in, the script evolves and stuff, right? So that's really cool. Would there be any characters in your treatment that would be having a crisis of faith like the original? Well, the crisis of faith, no, I don't think so. In my treatment, it's the father that's the scientist. He's the psychologist. So That's where that would come in, because he tries to use psychiatry to treat her. He uses all of the tools in his bag to have science be the, well, we can cure this with science kind of thing. And that's where the faith part comes in, right? He just doesn't he knows all about science, and we would have seen him like that, where he doesn't consider faith a viable option. Let's write that down. Fail. It's not, well, he didn't in the first version of this either. A viable option. Sees that she is clearly possessed. He offers. This is what makes him offer himself as a. There will be a scene in the third act where he reveals to Nancy that he has begun to believe in that higher power. There you go. That answers that, right? It should. Yeah, that's much better. All right, 54 minutes in. Okay. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that kind of stuff. Hey, if you like this kind of movie stuff, I'm really enjoying these writing sessions, because it's making me sit down and actually do it. Usually I'll put on some music with the headphones and just start typing, and sometimes that gets distracting. But if I'm talking with you guys and working through these ideas, I'm actually producing stuff, and that's really cool. I dig that. But we will change course here, and we'll go into what we normally do. I'm going to save this file, and I am going to copy and paste this into the description of this video, and then we'll go over and take a look at some headlines here. I want to talk about Heat 2. Yes, Heat 2. The movie, Heat 2, directed by Michael Mann. There, that's updated. So, yeah, we're a movie news show here. I was looking at the headlines this morning, guys, and it was there's not that much going on. SAG strike has been, talks have been postponed until Wednesday. It's supposedly a do or die moment for them. Michael Mann has announced that he wants to work on Heat 2 next, after he's done all this work on Ferrari, and he wants Adam Driver to be part of Heat 2. Now, I thought I pulled that story up. Maybe I'll just pull it from my history, guys. There we go. Hi, Michael Mann. There we go. Let's talk about this, because this is cool. I adore Heat. I think Heat is a masterpiece of a film. Michael Mann confirms Heat 2 as next movie, and comments on potential reteam with Adam Driver. And they would have, Heat 2 is out on book form right now. And from what I understand, it's something that takes place before and after the events of Heat. The prequel parts are about Neil McCauley before he becomes, before Heat. Obviously, Neil McCauley doesn't survive Heat, but it'll be like the fallout after, with Al Pacino's character. What happened to him afterwards, right? I guess he went on to crack more cases. Did he get back together with his wife and stuff like that? There'd be a great way to bring back in Natalie Portman in some capacity. Maybe Natalie Portman picks up the mantle and tries to become a detective like Al Pacino's character, right? Vincent Hanna. Um, there's some interesting ideas in there. I think Adam Driver's top tier talent, guys. I don't think he's going to be Mr. Fantastic. I don't think he is. I've said too many times where I've used that case of him talking about going to the Comic Cons and stuff like that. He doesn't like that stuff. So we would have to go back into that arena, going back into the MCU, and he doesn't like to go and do all that stuff because it's just uncomfortable for him. He doesn't. It's not his bag. But doing something like Heat 2 would be totally up his alley, and that would be fun to see, right? So, yeah, Adam Driver was in talks to play the young Neil McCauley, the character Robert De Niro played in the first movie, which also had Warner Bros. In talks to join. So they would be looking at bringing back Robert De Niro? What? How? For what? Um, Man laughed and told us, perhaps we don't talk about that yet. Let me put it in this way. Adam and I got along like a house on fire. We have the same work ethic, which is pretty intense. We like each other, and we had a great time working together artistically. So Heat 2 serves both as a prequel and sequel to the first film. The story follows Macaulay. Yeah. Chris, they'd have to recast the Val Kilmer character, who does get away. He's the only one that gets away, right? Does he come back to Ashley Judd and at some point and reconcile? Vincent Hanna, played by Al Pacino, in years leading up. See, now that's what I don't think. Do we need to see the prequel part for Vincent Hanna's character? We just know that he had two marriages before the one he was in Heat. I don't know how much we need to know about that. The storyline takes readers back to Chicago in 1988 when Macaulay and Sihirilis were their Highline crew are taking on scores on the West Coast, the U.S.-Mexico border, and in Chicago. At the same time, Hanna is cutting his teeth as a rising star in the Chicago Police Department, chasing ultra-violent gang home invaders. Yeah. So it's more of a prequel than it is a sequel part, right? But they said there'd be kind of like after the case. Time to bring on the heat, do it, Michael. The book was awesome. I can't wait for this, says Matt. I never read the book, but the book is out now. So maybe I'll have to try to see if the local library's got a copy of it, because I am curious about it. I really am. All right. Next. Poor Things is critically acclaimed as 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is it? December, guys, is Poor Things. Emma Stone plays like a Frankenstein-ish type monster. Looking forward to that. Yeah, no, Yorgos Lanthimos would be a perfect person to direct an Exorcist movie because he would make things feel very uncomfortable. If you ever watched Killing of a Sacred Deer, he can do uncomfortable, and that's what an Exorcist movie should make you feel. Very uncomfortable. Because that's what we would be going for. All right. The Marvels hits theaters November 10th. Yes, I'll be there, guys. I'll be checking it out. Name your all-time favorite horror performances. Well, yeah, he was good, but yeah, no, she was great in Hereditary. She would like you just that dinner scene is like she should have been. She should have won an Oscar for that, man. That was just wow. Toni Collette, great performance. Great. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite horror performances. Jack Nicholson uh, as Torrance. Yeah, that was also really great. Was this? This is one of the best. And if you want to think of one crazy one that's kind of fun, Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead 2. I thought that one was a good performance. Linda Blair from Exorcist. Yeah, that was crazy. Robert Englund, hands down, as Freddy. Yeah, but Freddy kind of came off the rails when he was working with his power glove, going, cool graphics. It's like, get out the hell. The Black Phone, the little girl. Oh yeah, that little girl in Black Phone was way much better. Was that Henry Thomas in Black Phone playing the father? Was it? Madeline McGraw, right? Um, who played the father? It wasn't James Ransone. Jeremy Davies. No, it wasn't. It was Jeremy Davies played the father. Yeah, he did a good job too. He was menacing. Um, yeah, that's hard to. Mia Goth as Pearl, just in case they show something there that's racy, because Pearl's known to be crazy. Uh, I'm a star. Yeah, that's the audition scene is so uncomfortable to watch. Victoria Pedretti, Haunting of Hill House. So many in Haunting of Hill House. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Anya Taylor Joy. I like The Witch. I like The Witch a lot, but I wouldn't say it would be my all-time favorite. Bifer says all-time horror performance was Isabel Adjani, Adjani for Possession. Oh yeah, Possession. That's the one with Sam Neill, right? Where she's in the hallway screaming. Maybe we can add that one in there. Oh yeah, there she is, right there. Great performance. Awesome. Very disturbing movie too. We couldn't watch that one together. And yes, see how the lighting in that movie was like all washed out and the color palettes were all muted and like didn't have any vibrancy. That's what I would use for the Exorcist movie. Something like that, where it's just unsettling. Bill Skarsgård is Pennywise. Gunnar Hansen is Leatherface. Yeah, that was pretty disturbing. Terrifier, the guy who plays the Terrifier. Interesting. Good choices. Next. Dead Reckoning is now available on digital platforms. Good for it. Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan on Maestro hits theaters November 22nd and Netflix December 20th. I am curious about this movie. I am not hyped about this movie. I I'm really curious about the performances. I like Carey Mulligan, and I think Bradley Cooper as a director. I don't know if he is of the skill set yet to handle this because it could end up being very drab and boring. I don't know. The Marvels in 3D. Oh, what? Is Marvels coming out in 3D? Please no. Please spare us. Pain Hustlers did have another trailer that dropped today, right? That comes out at the end of the month on Netflix. The 1970s Exorcist lends itself well to The Exorcist in terms of lighting and tone. Yeah, I would go for the exact same kind of scheme. Alfonso Cuarón handled a special screening of Barbie in London. Cool. We like Alfonso Cuarón here, don't we? Candy Cane Lane, starring Eddie Murphy. Is that based on the board game Candy Cane Lane? I didn't know anything about that. Let's pull that up. Man is determined to win the neighbor's annual Christmas decorating contest after making a pact with an elf to help him win. The elf casts a spell bringing the 12 days of Christmas to life and unexpectedly bringing chaos to town. December 1st. Nick Offerman, Eddie Murphy. But Eddie Murphy hasn't been in any really big hits. Remember You People from this year? That was just god awful. I don't know what the heck he was doing in that. Amy Johnston? Why does that sound familiar to me? Captain Amor. So she was a stunt woman. Okay. Yeah, he did. He did okay in A Star Is Born. I was thinking about that. I like directing that, but that was 5 years ago, man. Oh, that's hard to believe. Mostly, I don't know, because Lady Gaga really helped that movie a lot. The official trailer. Wait a minute. They already had an official trailer, didn't they? I'll watch Pain Hustlers simply because of Emily Blunt. The story premise, the premise itself does not really intrigue me. But it's on Netflix, so we'll give it a watch. I just don't know if we'll be able to watch it together because if it's got any racy stuff. I'll have to look at the Parents Guide first. Carey Mulligan in for Maestro, yeah. Dolby, new poster for the Marvels. Yeah, they're ramping up the marketing for that. I'm guessing we're going to see a trailer for that on the Taylor Swift movie coming out this Friday. The Spiderwick Chronicles series that was canceled at Disney is now picked up by Roku. Carey Mulligan. I don't know who that guy is. Nicholas. Yeah, I don't know who that is. More Carey Mulligan. Lots of Carey Mulligan. Who's this? Greg Araki reveals he's working on a new film as Nowhere and Doom Generation. So the guy who Doom Generation. Which one was it where the two guys end up having relations at the end, and the one guy starts convulsing, and a big beetle comes out of him, and he's like Montgomery. He's an abstract filmmaker. Doom Generation. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. No Hard Feelings is on October 22nd on Netflix US. Really, that one will be hard to watch since she does a full nude scene in that. Not hard to watch for me, but I mean like on Netflix or sorry on YouTube. More Marvel stuff. A new featurette about the Marvels has been released. I like that lighting rig or that camera rig. That's cool. It's been unbelievable. So they're really pumping up the marketing, it seems, today for the Marvels. New trailer for Color Purple. Down low. That's a rated R trailer, so better be careful. Taylor Russell. I like her as an actress. I do. I want to see more from Taylor Russell. I just wasn't a big fan of Bones and All, that's all. Will Poulter. It's quite the abstract jacket, isn't it? Because it's uneven. Huh. I want to see a lot more work from Will Poulter, too. Caleb Turner. Aaron Pierre. Bottoms. November 3rd. That's still on my must-see list, Bottoms. Boogie Nights. All right. Huh. I think that's pretty much it for today, guys. I don't really have that much. And I've run over time today. If there's movie news headlines, we'll do a movie news show tomorrow. Maybe Joe Johnson was from Power Rangers. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I was thinking about. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to have my breakfast, go out for my walk, and then join us later this afternoon on Twitch. We'll be going through our World of Warcraft Tuesday. We'll be looking at what the new quest lines are going to be and stuff. Opening up our great vaults for all of our characters that we worked hard on last week. Yeah. All right. See you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day. You're watching Mirror Domains.